everyone, in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you my post photo shoot workflow. So I'm going to be taking you through what I do when I get back from a photo shoot, how I download my images, how I back them up, how I edit them, and how I share them with my team. So let's get into it. When I get home from a photo shoot, I'm usually pretty exhausted, but I find that it's best to download the images that very day rather than leaving it for the next day or maybe a few days and then accidentally losing your memory card or formatting it or shooting over it or something. So I like to download my images on the day of the photo shoot. My Canon 5D Mark III has dual card slots, which means I have a CF and an SD card inside my camera, and my raw photos record to the CF card and then copy over to the SD card while I'm shooting. So it means that at any given point in time, I already have 2 copies of the photo shoot that I'm doing. When I get home from a photo shoot, I take the SD card out of the camera and plug it into my computer to download the photos. Once the SD card is plugged into my computer, I open the folder and click and drag the folder of photos to my hard drive. Once that's copied over, I like to rename that folder to 01.dselects, and then I like to make 3 new folders in that folder called Selects, Lightroom, and Export. In terms of hard drives, I like using external hard drives for everything, so I barely ever have anything on my computer. So if for some reason my computer crashes one day, I don't have to worry about having lost any files. So the main hard drive that I use is an SSD, and that's the hard drive that I put all my work that needs to be edited on. So a fresh photo shoot will go straight onto the SSD, and that's where I'll edit the photos from. And then I have another hard drive, which is my backup, and that's just a normal hard drive with a much bigger capacity, and that's where all my backup files go. Once I've copied that photo shoot from the SD card to my external solid state hard drive, I copy over that entire folder onto my backup hard drive. So straight away, there's 2 copies of that photo shoot. The way I like to name my main folders where all the photos go is with the date backwards, so 18.01.22 for January 22nd. Then I have a little dash and the type of shoot that it is. So I have fashion, wedding, or travel. And then another dash and the name of the client that I am shooting for. And this makes it really easy if you have to go back into your archives to find a specific image. First of all, you have all the folders in order by the date. Then you can easily look out for the keyword travel if you're looking for a travel photo. And then you can easily pinpoint which location it was that you wanted that photo from. So it makes it really easy to find photos if you've got heaps and heaps of folders like I do. Moving on to what programs I like to use while I'm editing. So you've got all these files that you took on the day in your deselects folder to start with. Instead of spending a long time importing thousands of images into Lightroom, I actually like to use a program called Photo Mechanic to select all the photos that I want to edit. So basically what I do is I open up Photo Mechanic, open up the deselects folder, and all the images are there ready to go. There's no loading time. The thumbnails and the preview of the image are really sharp and high res and are pretty much instant in popping up on your screen, which makes selecting really, really easy. There is a fee with Photo Mechanic and you can buy that online if you want. And if you want a free option to use instead, Adobe Bridge comes with Photoshop if you have the Creative Cloud. So that's another option that you can use to select images. In Photo Mechanic, I have all my files and I basically go through them one by one and give 1 star to each image that I want to edit. Once I have all my 1-star images rated, I select all the 1 stars and move them into our selects folder, which we made earlier on. The next step is to open Lightroom, and here we're going to make a catalog fresh for that photo shoot inside the Lightroom folder that we made earlier. And the reason why I like to do this is Lightroom runs so much faster if you make a catalog for each photo shoot that you're doing, rather than importing every photo shoot into one catalog. So you'll have 20 images in one catalog rather than thousands of images from heaps of different shoots on the one catalog. So it's much more efficient and it's much faster when you're using it. Once all the images are imported into Lightroom, I like to go through and click on each of my Lightroom presets to try and find a style that I want for the final photos. At the moment, I'm actually really obsessed with my Amalfi Lightroom preset, and I've been using it to edit pretty much every photo shoot that I've done so far this year. So I do have Lightroom presets if you guys are interested. I'll link that down in the description if you want to check it out. Otherwise, I also have a lot of Lightroom tutorials up on my YouTube channel, which shows you how to edit photos without the use of presets as well. Once I've applied the preset, I go through each image one by one and make sure that the white balance is correct, the exposure is correct, and that the overall lighting and everything of the image looks really good. Once that's done, we are going to export our photos, and I like to export them as high resolution JPEGs. So we're going to select all our images and right click them and hit export. Here's a little screen grab of my export settings when I'm exporting high-res JPEG, so feel free to copy this if you guys want. I basically just set my resolution to 300 and make sure that the resize image option is unticked. Next, I like to move on to using Adobe Bridge as a file management program. It's really easy to see all the photos that you've got to edit. So I like to open that up next and one by one open up each image in Photoshop and retouch them. And I do have a tutorial about how I retouch with frequency separation. If you guys want to check that out, I'll leave that in the description. And once that's all done, I save the images. We're almost done. The next thing that I like to do is share all my finished files with my client or my team. And I like to do this with Dropbox because it's really easy to use. So what I do is I make a new folder in Dropbox and name it with my name and the client's name. And just a little side note, it's super important to include your name or your business name in this Dropbox folder name, as you can imagine that the client that you're working with or the model that you're working with has plenty of folders in their Dropbox with their own name already. So this helps differentiate your folder, and they can easily find your photos, and years down the track, if they decide to post a photo from your photo shoot, they know exactly who took the photo. So anyway, inside that folder, I like to make a high-res folder and a low-res folder, and that's where I paste the images to upload and share with the client so they can have them. Last but not least, you can't forget about your backups. So remember all the way back at the beginning of this video where we copied over the original folder of photos from the SSD to the hard drive? Well, now we want to update that hard drive copy with all the selected files and the retouched files as well. So we're going to go ahead and delete that file from the hard drive, and immediately we're going to copy the folder of photos from the SSD onto the hard drive. Once that's finished copying over, then you can empty your trash can out. Last but not least, I delete that main folder from my SSD hard drive once the photo shoot's completely finished and backed up, and I end up with one copy of all my raw files and 2 copies of all my final exported files, one on my hard drive and one online on Dropbox. And for me, that's sufficient enough because I have edited all the images that I would ever edit, so the raw files are really only there as a just in case for anything, but I hardly ever go back to use them. Well, that is my entire photo shoot workflow. I hope that wasn't too complicated. For me, it's a really simple way of being able to keep my files in order and safe, and I hope you learned something that maybe you can implement into your workflow. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, as I love hearing from you guys. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye!